Hello everybody, hope you enjoyed the 18-hole cup and looking forward to the major this week. It's going to be my ball review on the Blossom Ball, which is the Sakura or Cherry Blossom ball. I'll start by the aesthetics of it, then we'll go into some statistics and get this into our grid lines for further inspection. So from a visual point of view, I think the ball's really pretty. I like cherry blossoms. I do have some of these tattooed on me actually. I do think they're a very pretty flower. I like the Japanese feel to this, and it looks round, which is a massive bonus. I don't mind the contrasting colours too. I think it's all in general a very nice and pretty looking ball. So let's go over some stats. It's a P5, which is the middle of the road with a 3% plus 3 overpower needle stability, which is the best it can be. P5 is quite nice. Obviously it's kind of middle of the road in terms of where it'll be used. This is not necessarily solely a par 3 ball. This looks to be quite well balanced. We have side spin 10, which is the maximum we can get, wind resistance 10, which is fantastic, otherwise I wouldn't be doing a review, and then precision 5, which is middle of the road again. Precision 5 is an ample amount. It's definitely not fake precision, which we'd class as like precision 2. It's definitely enough that ensures you a much better chance of hitting the perfect. So quite impressed by this ball. Let's take this into our grid lines and hope this is perfectly round and great for size. Right then, let's get this ball into our grid lines. Hopefully it's not going to let us down. Let's see what you're like for sizing. Okay. Sakura ball, be nice. We are 1 click small, which is alright actually. It sits on my grid lines here. There's a very small gap around the top of the grid lines and around all the edges, to be honest. So I don't foresee this being an issue. Here I would class as perfect as there, and that is what I would say is 1 click small. These are very intricate measurements here, but I would say this ball is probably 1 click small, if not near on perfect. So I have no issues there. I'll just compare this to a few statistics, then wrap up this ball review. Right, a few final words here. I'm going to compare this to some other statistics depending on what you think in terms of the value of this. With it being Power 5, I do think this is going to bridge the gap a little bit in terms of, I'm comparing this to this kind of thing. Obviously this is not round, but this is a P6. You know, our P6 side spin 10 balls like these ones, we don't have a great deal of precision with them. And there is this one that's really low precision, but this is used here and there. But mostly the comparison lies between this kind of ball. The Exalt ball is exactly the same, except it has a smidge better precision and obviously a smidge less distance, but still has the same overpower needle. I didn't buy myself any of these. I didn't feel that it was necessary, as I had loads of, you know, stuff like this, and I was comfortable hitting the perfect with the par 3s and stuff. Also, I've got loads of this kind of thing. This is probably my favourite, one of my favourite balls on the game. This is 1% needle, but predominantly a par 3 ball. So what I think is, if you do need some side spin 10 balls here, this will not only be useful for the par 3s, but as I mentioned earlier, I do think this will bridge the gap where you will be able to use this on some par 4s and even some par 5s, because you'll be able to get slightly higher in the plus check yardage compared to using a P4 ball. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a click small. People might not think it is, but I don't see that being an issue. I can find a reference point for using that. So yeah, I do think it's a pretty solid ball. If you need some side spin 10, wind 10, decent amount of precision, decent amount of power, would not be a bad idea to get yourself a bunch. Have a great day. Catch you all soon. Good luck.